The Ratan Tata Problem, written by Vinod Mehta. Between 1971 and 1978, when I was working as a copywriter, I managed to write three books. The first, Bombay, a Private View. I had to self finance. But the other two, Meena Kumari and the Sanjay story, were commissioned by one of the leading publishers of the time, Jayco Books. My duties as a copywriter and as editor of a monthly magazine gave me some time to pursue rightly aspirations, and I soon fancied myself as a card carrying author. After the modest success of Meena Kumari and Sanjay Gandhi, Jayco Publishing House asked me if I was game for another biography. I said yes, without realizing what they had in mind. Jayco had decided to move up to a higher league in the publishing business. When they mentioned the name of Jahangir Ratanji Dadabhai Tata, that is JRD, I was taken aback, but only briefly. I blithely accepted without realizing the full implications of the commission. JRD, as he was popularly known, sat at the pinnacle of India's corporate world without any serious challengers. He would be frequently compared with J.D. Rockefeller. It was a comparison JRD liked. I had a hazy idea of JRD's status and eminence and thought I could get away with producing the book. In 1978, archival material of any kind was scarce. Moreover, the Tatas, particularly JRD, had a reputation for being tight fisted when it comes to sharing information with the media. I could locate no straight interview with the head of the Tatas, nor an analytical assessment of the man. It was all single sentence statements at airports and other banal stuff. After searching for weeks, I managed to lay my hands on a biography of the founder J.N. Tata by Frank Harris, an Englishman. In the Bombay of 1970s, the Tatas were unquestionably the business intellectual, moral, and social elite. They exemplified all that was good and noble and decent. Tatas don't bribe. Tatas don't play politics were widely accepted precepts of the business house. They stood for principles and practices from which no deviation was available on record. Presiding over the house which J.N. Tata built from scratch was J.R.D. Tata. To say that India was in awe of the man would be an understatement. Apocryphal stories of JRD stopping his Mercedes at bus stands to pick up Parsi and non Parsi commuters on rain drenched days and dropping them to their homes proliferated. He was part of folklore. Luckily, I had made the acquaintance of the PRO of the Tatas, a nice Parsi whose name I forget. He would take me to the Ripon Club on MG Road, which arguably served the best food in town. Ripon Club was established by Sir Dinshaw Petit in 1884. The symbol of the club, an ugly stag, found imprint on all the crockery and cutlery. I asked the Tata PRO for assistance with the biography. Would he help me get access to GRD and the other Tata directors? He said he would try. At our next lunch, he seemed troubled. He said he had put my request to a Tata director and had been rudely rebuked. I abandoned the commission, realizing it was impossible to write a biography of Jahangir Ratanji Dadabhai Tata, that is GRD, without the active cooperation of the subject and his staff. In my later years in Bombay, despite an initial brush with Jamshed Bhabha, the younger brother of the renowned atomic scientist Homi Bhabha, regarding the sound quality at the National Center for the Performing Arts, I became friendly with a few Tata heavyweights like Nani Falkiwala, Darbari Seth, S.A. Sabhawala, and even Jamshed Bhabha. Eventually, I earned the ultimate prize, an invitation to the director's lunchroom at Bombay House. One did not go for food but for the gossip for which the lunchroom was famous. Alas, it turned out to be a one-way street. While the Titans divulged next to nothing, they expected me to provide all the entertainment. GRD Tata never came to the lunchroom. The first time I heard of Ratan Tata was through a friend who lived in the same building as I did. He worked for Nelco, which Ratan Tata had been given to manage in 1971. Nelco sold radios and TV sets. In the years of the license permit Raj, Ratan Tata struggled with barely 2% of the market share and mounting losses. Ratan failed miserably. My friend, who worked directly under Ratan Tata, left. However, he spoke of his boss in glowing terms. The company collapsed. Ratan Tata was promoted and joined the board of directors of Tata Sons in 1974. At the time Ratan Tata made it to chairman of Tata Sons in 1991, I had fled Bombay for Delhi. I got busy with the Delhi edition of the Pioneer for my new proprietor L.M. Thapar. Ratan Tata, meanwhile, started getting the feel of GRD's chair. He found it distinctly uncomfortable. He seemed to be merely a titular chairman. 3 super managers ruled the roost. Russi Modi looked after Tata Steel, Darbari Seth looked after Tata Tea and Tata Chemicals. Ajit Kerkar looked after the hotels division. Thus, It was perfectly logical that sooner rather than later he would rid himself of the meddlesome trio. It took from 1991 to 1997 to complete the job. Ratan first went for Russi Modi, who harbored thoughts encouraged by JRD that he might be his successor. Modi shot himself in the foot thanks to his blabbering mouth. Darbari Seth went quietly after ensuring his son took over from him. Finally, in 1997 came the turn of Ajit Kerkar. This turned out to be a bitter departure played out in public. For no fault of mine, I got trapped in the war between the two. Ajit Kerkar's is a rags to riches fable. In 1961, he joined the Taj Hotels in the catering department and rose till he too became a director. Kerkar single handedly turned a one property hotel of the 1960s into the country's largest hotel chain. Despite his stubbornness and deep insecurity regarding the hold of the directors, they were also to blame for his paranoia. They refused to take him seriously. Mr. Kerkar, like the other two, enjoyed a close personal relationship with the previous chairman JRD. As long as they could keep him happy, they had a free ride. Ajit made it a point to send fresh pineapple pastries from the Taj Bakery to JRD punctually at 4 pm to go with his tea. When someone suggested he should include the new chairman in the pastry list, he was dismissive. Ratan Tata got to hear of the pastry snub. On 2nd September 1997, Ajit Kerkar, after 37 years with the Taj Group, was unceremoniously sacked. They said he had his hand in the till. He took a cut in every Taj purchase, even toothpicks became one of the minor charges. The graver ones included FERA violations and embezzlement. I and Outlook took no sides in the Ajit Ratan Tata hostilities. If anything, I supported the new chairman in his determination to build his own team. But it was a hot media story. I forget exactly how many reports and interviews we carried, all from the Kerkar camp or from Kerkar himself. Ratan and the Tatas stayed studiously mum during the whirlwind. Not just in Outlook, but in other media as well, the vicious personality clash was covered mostly from the Kerkar side. Ratan's case, and he had a good one, fell by default because he or his managers failed to make it. Perhaps through arrogance or indifference or disdain, the Tatas are reluctant to speak to the media. They operate on the belief we are Tatas. No one dare to criticize us. The few morsels we throw at journalists when it pleases us should be sufficient. The group has had to pay heavily for this conceit. The winds of change after the 2G scam are slowly blowing, particularly under the new chairman, Cyrus Mistry. The Tata ego received another blow when an ex colleague, the gentle Charudatta Deshpande, working as a PRO in Tata Steel at Jamshedpur, committed suicide. He was suspected of leaking unfavorable stories to the press and allegedly put under great management pressure. A full blown public and police inquiry had begun. Ratan Tata is convinced I and the magazine hold a personal animus against him. Ratan Tata has many admirable qualities, but even his friends admit he nurses a grudge which has done him and his group no good. The twin pillars on which the house of Tatas was built, Tatas don't bribe and Tatas don't indulge in politics, came under enormous strain when in November 2010 Outlook published its story on the Radia tapes. Ratan Tata's mug, among others, was prominent on the cover. With the tapes in the public domain, the lofty Tata code appeared unsustainable. Although Ratan Tata is his laconic self, he says enough on the tapes to confirm that something was being cooked up. I hope Raja doesn't slip up, Tata tells Radia, his PRO, sometime in 2008. He then adds, I'm surprised that Raja, after all you supposedly did for him, is playing this game. Radia corrects him frequently. Her interjections are elaborate, detailed, and revealing. Ratan is a matter of fact, businesslike, even though Neera tries to draw him into other matters. Ratan merely says the anomaly needs to be corrected. After the Outlook issue hit the stands, shock and disbelief prevailed. So many people asked me if it was really Ratan Tata's voice on the tape. Fortunately, in his very first response, Mr. Tata did not question the authenticity of the tapes. He merely wanted to know who had leaked them. In our editorial conferences, we had many discussions on whether Ratan Tata's picture should be put on the cover. We wanted to make sure we were being fair to him. Accompanying that concern, I must admit, was the fear of the consequences, both intended and unintended. After all, Outlook was taking on the most respected and powerful businessman in the country. In the end, we reached a consensus. We couldn't possibly print excerpts from the tapes without putting him on the cover. He was the biggest fish in our net. For Outlook, Ratan Tata's terse sentences on tape were just the trailer. In February 2011, thanks to our brilliant correspondent, we managed to get hold of a handwritten Tata letter dated 13th November 2007 to DMK chief M. Karunanidhi. We printed it in full. It is an extraordinary piece of communication to the leader of the political party to which A. Raja belongs. Each time I read the missive, I asked myself what madness possessed Mr. Tata to dispatch such a cringing, absurd, and potentially explosive note. Of course, as he explains, To avoid any mishaps, he requested his trusted aide to personally deliver it. The purpose of the letter is unmistakable flattery, and more flattery of a rather crude kind. I have too much respect for Mr. Tata to believe he came up with this hair-brained scheme himself. While I have no evidence to substantiate my assertion, I am pretty sure the letter and its contents were Neera Radia's idea. Tata embarks on some old fashioned psychophancy. Two individuals, Raja and Karunanidhi, needed to be buttered up. The more fulsome praise, naturally, is reserved for the chief. On the issue of spectrum, he begins. His, that is, Raja, stated policies for most part have been legally sound, rational, and well reasoned. The certificate, incidentally, comes after Raja's controversial move to grant out of turn license to Tata Services. The rupture for Karunanidhi, the man who put Raja in the telecom ministry, is gushing. The unctuous words Tata uses need to be savoured. It is essential that history praises the vision, creativity, and high growth achieved by you and your minister. Further, it states DMK can possibly claim telecom to be its greatest achievement and most significant contribution to the nation's growth. It is a cruel irony that the vision and creativity landed Raja and Karunanidhi's daughter in the same jail. The letter was published by Outlook 10 days after Raja was arrested. When Ratan Tata looks back at his magnificent record and a few blunders in his career, this letter must be at the top of the blunders list. Hiring Neera Radia as PRO would be a close second. For a man who hates the media, Ratan Tata personally took charge of the damage limitation campaign to counter the character assassination he had been subjected to. He took two routes. The first, giving interviews to friendly journalists. The second, moving the highest court in the land, seeking relief for the invasion of his privacy. He came to the privacy plea after he gave up on his demand that the publications which printed the controversial conversations be punished and the authorities responsible for the leaks be identified. Of all the media interactions, his interview to NDTV, conducted by the former editor of the Indian Express, Shekhar Gupta, remains the fullest exposition of his views on the Radia tapes and his business philosophy in general. The interview has acquired some notoriety since it is here that he makes the sensational charge of India turning into a banana republic where crony capitalism runs unchecked and where a person is pronounced guilty before a court verdict. The really significant portion of the interview, however, arises from his repeated assertions that the Tatas have never paid a bribe. We have never done so. I want to go to bed at night feeling that I have not succumbed. And how his insistence on not bribing has cost the Tatas dear, most notably in Not being able to start a private airline, the gratification for which would apparently have been a paltry rupees 15 crore. He has started one now called Vistara. After the NDTV interview came the turn of the Economist newspaper. Nonetheless, 3 months after the radio tapes became public, with Ratan Tata's name bandied about in various acts of financial and political impropriety, and with the chairman himself seen coming in and going out of the Delhi CBI office, the Economist produced a 3,000 word article which, to put it bluntly, was a puff job. India Tribune website states Ratan Tata must understand that the majority of the radio tapes relate to money transactions, deal making, and influencing elected and appointed government officials, which could be termed as a conspiracy to commit an offense. On the one hand, Ratan Tata speaks of high ethical and moral standards. On the other hand, he wants to deny the right of the Indian public for transparency in the Radia matter. In November 2010, Ratan Tata went to court. Karanjawala and company representing Tata approached the Supreme Court claiming the publication of the tapes violated his client's right to privacy. The court issued notices to the Union Home and Finance Ministries, CBI, and the Income Tax Departments. It also issued notice to Outlook magazine. Damages from the offending publication were sought. The case has taken a long and tortuous course, with Tata dropping the damages demand and concentrating exclusively on the privacy violation. After more than 3 years in court, we are nowhere near closure. One cause for the delay is possible unfamiliarity with the subject. In the West, with its celebrity culture, privacy cases are frequent and quickly disposed of. Privacy litigation in India is rare. We are breaking new ground. In his petition, Mr. Tata claims his conversations caught on tape were private in nature. He demanded the tapes be withdrawn from the public domain. So, essentially, the lawsuit is public interest versus privacy. Even a legal ignoramus like me knows privacy has no chance when pitted against public interest. It comes a poor second. Therefore, I am wondering who advised Ratan Tata to approach the Supreme Court with the privacy plea. Admittedly, one tiny portion in the tapes is private in nature, but the rest is all about a Raja and 2G spectrum scam. Ratan Tata and I are not finished yet. One final confrontation remains. When Arun Shourie was disinvestment minister in 2002, the Tatas took over Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited (VSNL). As a bonus, they got 733 acres of prime land in Delhi, Chennai, Kolkata, and Pune free. Outlook maintained that the 733 acres, valued currently at several thousand crore rupees, should have been returned to the government. Tatas agreed but maintained that despite their best efforts, they were unable to do so. The land as a right is still in their possession. We claimed there was hanky panky. A criminal defamation suit against a media organization is rare. Usually, A defamation suit is sufficient for reparation. Ratan Tata filed a criminal defamation suit, which means if he wins in court, I will be cooling my heels in Tihar jail. We shall wait and see. Since 2010, the Tatas have terminated all commercial and editorial engagement with the Outlook Group, which means we do not even receive routine press releases from the Tatas. More critically, the Outlook Group has lost all advertising from the 90 odd Tata companies. A considerable loss of revenue for us, which has not made me very popular with the Rahejas, the owners of the Outlook magazine. The Tata Outlook relationship has occasionally bordered on farce. A friend who bought me lunch at the Taj Mansingh in Delhi later told the manager of the hotel who he had invited. If I had known he was coming, I wouldn't have let him in, said the manager. One of Outlook's restaurant critic dined at the Japanese restaurant at the Taj in Mumbai. She loved the food and the experience. She requested the restaurant supervisor for a photograph, informing him she was going to give the joint 5 stars. A curt refusal. Outlook had been barred from even recommending one of Tata restaurants. Despite the unpleasantness and legal tangles, I admire Ratan Tata and the Tatas. The economist got it right. He has transformed the Tata Group into a global powerhouse. 3 overseas acquisitions, Tetley Tea, Chorus, and Jaguar Land Rover, all initiated by Ratan Tata, have changed the face of the group. However, it is undeniable that some of Ratan's decisions have damaged the group's dirt-free reputation. Thank you for listening. My duties as a copywriter and as editor of a monthly magazine gave me some time to pursue writerly aspirations, and I soon fancied myself as a card carrying author. Card carrying means confirmed or dedicated. After the modest success of Meena Kumari and Sanjay Gandhi, Jayco asked me if I was game for another bio. If I was game means if I am willing to participate in a given activity. When they mentioned the name of Jahangir Ratanji Dadabhai Tata, that is JRD, I was taken aback. Taken aback means I was surprised, I was stunned. But only briefly. I blithely accepted without realizing the full implications of the commission. Blithely, B-L-A-T-H-E-L-Y, blithely means happily, without feeling any worry. JRD, as he was popularly known, sat at the pinnacle of India's corporate world without any serious challengers. P-I-N-N-A-C-L-E, pinnacle means the most successful point, the highest level. In 1978, archival material of any kind was scarce. Moreover, the Tatas, particularly JRD, had a reputation for being tight-fisted when it came to sharing information with the media. Tight-fisted means not willing to spend or give. Apocryphal stories of JRD stopping his Mercedes at bus stands to pick up Parsi and non-Parsi commuters on rain-drenched days and dropping them to their homes proliferated. he was part of folklore. Apocryphal, Apocryphal. Apocryphal means a doubtful story, although widely circulated. Ratan Tata first went for Rusi Modi, who harbored thoughts encouraged by JRD that he might be his successor. Modi shot himself in the foot thanks to his blabbering mouth. Shoot oneself in the foot means inadvertently make a situation worse for oneself. Blabbering means talk foolishly. Despite his stubbornness and deep insecurity regarding the hold of the directors, they were also to blame for his paranoia. They refused to take him seriously. Paranoia, Paranoia. Paranoia. Paranoia means unjustified suspicion, mistrust. On 2nd September 1997, Ajit Kerkar, after 37 years with the Taj Group, was unceremoniously sacked. They said he had his hand in the till. Have one's hand in the till means to steal money from one's workplace. The graver ones included FERA violations and embezzlement. EMPEZZLEMENT. Embezzlement means misappropriation of funds. The group has had to pay heavily for this conceit. Conceit means pride. Ratan Tata is convinced I and the magazine hold a personal animus against him. ANIMUS, animus means hostility or ill feeling. Although Ratan Tata is his laconic self, he says enough on the tapes. Laconic means brief. Laconic means very short. I ask myself what madness possessed Mr. Tata to dispatch such a cringing, absurd, and potentially explosive note. CRING, cringe means to feel embarrassed and ashamed of something. I have too much respect for Mr. Tata to believe he came up with this harebrained scheme himself. Harebrained means very foolish. Tata embarks on some old-fashioned psychophancy. Two individuals, Raja and Karunanidhi, needed to be buttered up. Butter up means flatter or praise someone for gaining support or help. The more fulsome praise naturally is reserved for the chief. FULSOME, fulsome means flattering to excess degree. The unctuous words Tata used need to be savored. Unctuous, UNCTUOUS, unctuous means excessively flattering. Savor, SAVOUR, savor means taste and enjoy to the full. Of all the media interactions, his interview to NDTV, conducted by the former editor of the Indian Express, Shekhar Gupta, remains the fullest exposition of his views on the radio tapes and his business philosophy in general. Exposition, EXPOSITION, exposition means a clear and full explanation of something. A criminal defamation suit against a media organization is rare. Usually, a defamation suit is sufficient for reparation. REPARATION, reparation means the action of making amends for a wrong one caused by providing payment or other assistance to those who have been wronged. Thank you for listening.